Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Ship and Read. Today I'll be starting off with a brand new Goodreads reading vlog. So this time around I am going to do horror, which I mean usually I'll try to do in the fall, but because there's horror as well as mystery, I want to keep mystery for October for like some spooky vibes. So I'm going to do my horror category now, and hopefully I will get it done within the next month or two. But let's just kind of go through all the books that I plan to read for this category. So as always, I have my laptop over here and let's just kind of go through the books. So horror is quite interesting. I don't have a ton of books on here that I really want to read, but there are a few that I do want to pick up, and they are really solid, like 5-star predictions for sure. The first one over here, which is actually the winner, is Mexican Gothic by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. This is a book that I will plan to read. I am super excited for this book. I've been dying with this book since I have heard so much about it when it first came out, and everyone has been raving about it, so I'm definitely intrigued. The next book over here is If It Bleeds by Stephen King. I don't have the best luck with Stephen King books. I have tried his books in multiple formats and just never really fit for me. So I decided just Stephen King is just not really an author for me, so I will not be picking up this book. The next book over here is The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. This is a book that I will also not be picking up just because another book that I just never had interest in reading. Then the next book over here is one that I am super psyched to pick up, and that is The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. This book sounds absolutely fascinating, and it says over here it's about a young woman living in a rigid puritanical society discovers dark powers within herself in this stunning feminist fantasy debut. So there is like horror fantasy elements to it, and it sounds so good. I've heard great things again, so I'm really excited for this one. And honestly, that is actually the last book that I will be picking up, but let's just kind of go through all the other books that won. So the next book over here is The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. This is a book that I will not be picking up, just never had an interest in it. Then the next one over here is Devolution by Max Brooks. Again, never had an interest, so I will not be picking up this book. Then this next book over here is The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher. This is another book that just never really caught my interest, so again, I will not be picking up. The next book over here is Plain Bad Heroines by Emily M. Danforth. Again, not going to pick up this book, never had an interest. And the last two books over here is Mallory by Josh Mallerman. This is a book that I've heard stuff about, but I don't know, just never really caught my interest, so not be picking it up. Then the last book over here is Tender is the Flesh, and this is by Augustina Basterica. Really hope I pronounced that name correctly, but never really had an interest in reading this book as well. So yeah, basically horror categories will be super fast for me. I really only have the two books, Year of the Witching as well as Mexican Gothic, that I hope to pick up during this time period. That's why I feel like this video would just go by super fast, because I only have two books to read, and this one seems super short. I don't know where my Mexican Gothic book is right now actually, but it's somewhere around here for sure. But yeah, these are the two books I hope to pick up, and I'm super excited to read some like spooky books in summer, because I don't know, I feel like I usually read a lot of romance and fluffy books, but sometimes it might be good to dive into something like creepy and scary when it shouldn't be creepy and scary, because it's the summer when everything's all sun and fun and everything. But yeah, anyways, I'm excited for this one in Mexican Gothic. So anyways, I'd love to say for this intro, very quick intro, I just really want to start it so I can start reading, and then I will update you guys once I finish my first book. Alright, so just wanted to update you guys very quickly in terms of my first book that I read, which I actually finished like almost a week ago now, and that is Mexican Gothic by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. This book honestly was kind of disappointing. Like I don't know, like I actually like, okay, the funny story was I was actually in Austin during Memorial Weekend, and I was at this winery, and I was in the middle of reading this book, so I was like, why not read and drink some wine? And actually like the waitress comes up to me, she's like, oh my god, is that book so good? And I didn't want to be like, no, it's kind of not that good. So I was like, yeah. But yeah, anyways, this story, I don't know. Okay, so this basically follows a girl. Her name is Naomi, and she receives a distressing letter from her cousin who was recently married by this guy that they don't really know too much about him. The reason why Naomi and her family is very like protective over her cousin, because her cousin actually is like an orphan, and so it's been her father who has been taking care of her cousin most of this entire time, and of course Naomi as well. So Naomi ends up going to kind of a middle of nowhere village and to find out like what's going on. Why is what's like, why did she send a very distressing letter about like ghosts and things in the wall, etc. So she ends up going to this tiny village. Upon arriving there, she finds out that this family is very isolated from the townspeople. They don't actually really want to associate them whatsoever. They rarely go down to town except to do like errands. For the most part, they actually just have like someone else go down there and do the errands for them. They don't actually want to ever leave their estate. And so like as the book continues, she's trying to figure out like what's going on with her cousin. Her cousin seems to be fine for the most part, but Naomi is starting to get some like weird feelings about the place. It's not exactly welcoming. It's kind of like dank. It's kind of damp, creepy-ish kind of looking. Getting a lot of like not so great vibes from the people there, as well as, you know, just the house in general. And so as the book continues, she's just trying to uncover like what is truly going on. Why is she like seeing things now? Why are her dreams so weird, etc. And it is just a weird book. I would say the best part about this is the writing. I love the writing. It was just so like mesmerizing and lyrical. Like I really like her writing style for the most part. Her story though, I don't know, there's just something about the plot that's always been a little bit like out of my reach in terms of like connecting to it. And then in terms of the character though, I feel like I would say her book is more about, they're more plot driven in a way, because the writing is just very lyrical. They're not very character driven. So I felt like throughout this book I just never really felt connected with Naomi or her cousin. I was intrigued by what was going on, like finding out what was happening and why, you know, her cousin was having some sort of like fits going on, and why Naomi herself was also like having some weird experiences there. So I was invested in that sense. But in terms of like, you know, everything else, I was kind of like, it got kind of boring. Like I felt like I never felt the really big urge to like continue with it. I was like, even towards the end I was like, I want to know what's happening, but I was never like, I need to know what's happening like right this moment. So I feel like because of that, it was just an okay read for me. I don't know, I just felt like I expected like more, probably because of all like the raving reviews I read and heard. But I think if you really like more like plot driven books and kind of like creepy atmosphere books, this is the book for you. If you like more like character driven books, I think this is probably not the book for you. I just feel like her characters are never just like really fleshed out. I think you get a lot of insight from them, but I don't know, I never feel connected with any of her characters. And that is true for other books that I read. That was Gods of Jade and Shadow. I felt like the story itself was fascinating and I enjoyed her writing. Like her writing has always been like really mesmerizing. I love her writing, but it's just something about her plot and her characters, just, I don't know, like sometimes it's like not the best. So I did end up giving this book like 3 stars. So yeah, anyways, as I say, for this particular book, I am halfway done. Actually, I'm like 3/4 of the way done with my second book, which is the last book I'll be reading. But once I finish that, I'll come back in and check in and give an update in terms of my thoughts for that book. But anyways, as I say, for this update, and I'll see you guys later. Okay, so just wanted to jump in quickly and give you guys an update, since I did manage to just finish reading my last book for this vlog, and that is Year of the Witching. The book's over here, and honestly I am kind of disappointed by it, to be honest. So this book basically follows a girl, her name is Emmanuel, and she was born kind of in a weird situation. Her mother was essentially shunned by everyone. She went into the dark wood, came out pregnant, and, you know, gave birth, and her grandparents actually ended up taking her in. But her father was actually burned at the pyre, and her mother was killed. I think she wasn't killed, but she died at childbirth, if I remember correctly. And this situation caused her, like her background caused a lot of suspicion upon her, just because, you know, everyone kind of knew her like background in terms of like her mother, her father, and all that stuff, and people have always kind of like treated her a little bit differently because they always suspected. But this book basically falls around like a cult as well, where it's like a prophet and he has many wives, like many wives, and they range from all ages. He takes them as young as, you know, as soon as they have their first blood, which means as soon as they hit puberty, he takes them as a wife and, you know, does things with them, have kids with them, etc. And he has many wives, and everyone sees him as, you know, a great like person of faith. They also kind of hunt down these witches, like any females really, who are, you know, just a little bit suspicious for the most part, especially when they have different things that's happening. And so this book just basically follows like their cult following in a way. And at some point Emmanuel ends up in the dark wood for whatever reason. So like a mistake ends up happening. She ends up there and she ends up getting her period, her first period there, and somehow because of that it unleashes this plague. So there are like 4 stages to this plague, and she's just trying to like figure out like how to reverse it, because she does have, you know, her family there, her sisters in a way, her mothers, I guess, or like her grandmothers in a way, her grandfather, they're all there. They've taken care of her entire life, so she wants to make sure they stay safe, even though there are certain things about the prophet and his teachings that seems morally wrong, but they've always been like, oh, we are right because, you know, this is just how it is, like this is what the father wants, etc. And as she learns more about the prophet and kind of like his sins and things that he did, I'm just like, what the fuck. But anyways, point is though, like I don't want to like ramble too much because I feel like I just finished this book, so my thoughts are a little bit like rambly right now. But this book was just slow. I don't know, like I just felt like I didn't really care too much with the plot or the characters. There was it's like hint of a romance in a way in here that kind of came out of nowhere. It's to the point that I felt super insta-lovey. They literally had this one encounter and suddenly after that he's like everywhere and he's willing to like die for her, stuff like that, you know, like, you know, take all her sins upon himself, etc. And I'm just like, this seems super far-fetched. Like you've known her like once. I mean, like obviously they've known each other throughout their entire lives, but he literally, they've only interacted with each other like one time prior to everything happening. So I'm just like, I don't know, this seems super strange to me. That was like one part that I really didn't like about the book. That being said though, I did like the guy character a lot just because he just seems so sweet, but at the same time I'm just like, dude, how, like I don't understand, like where are your like, obviously you got the hots with this girl, but at the same time it's like you barely interact with her, you barely know her, like you've talked to her like once or twice before, and now you're suddenly like, oh, her sins are my sins, you know, like I'm guilty and she's not, blah blah blah. And I'm just like, I don't know. Point is though, I did not like this book as much as I thought I would. Honestly, at the end of the day, like both of the books I read for this vlog has not been the most amazing reads. I think this book would be like a 3-star read. Like it's not bad. I did like some of like the elements in it in terms of like the cult followings and their messages and kind of like how it's always a woman who end up being mistreated, etc. Like there's definitely like a feminist message in here for sure, and I enjoyed that part. But in terms of everything else though, like I just felt like it was really messy. Like the whole story just felt super messy to me. Felt very confusing. I felt like the pacing was like all over the place. Sometimes it was like super fast paced, like especially the ending, super fast paced. Beginning was also like just really slow, kind of confusing. So yeah, overall like I was just not a huge fan of this book. So anyways, those are the 2 books that I have read for this vlog. Mexican Gothic, which I gave 3 stars. This one, which I also I'm going to give 3 stars as well. They're not bad books. They just weren't like amazing like I thought they were going to be. And I just really hope for like more, I guess, for this genre. Like I don't really read a lot of horror books for the most part. And this was my like, I don't want to say first dive into horror, but at the same time, kind of my first dive into horror, because I just don't pick them up. I pick up like mystery thrillers, I pick up like some scary reads, but they're more like mystery thrillers kind of reads. This is the first time I've picked up like 2 horror books for a video, and I've actually done something for it. And I don't know, like I'm kind of bummed out that I didn't love these 2 as much as I thought they were. Like I honestly thought they both be like 5-star reads. So let me down below like if you have any horror recommendations that you think would be amazing. I do like the witchy vibes, ghostly vibes, because I feel like those are kind of horror aspects for me. So anyways, that's all to say for this video. I'm very disappointed, guys, just because I thought they would be amazing. But anyways, yeah, let me know down below if you have any recommendations. I would definitely appreciate that. I do want to pick up more horror. I feel like it's a genre that I don't touch too often, so I would like some recommendations if you guys have any. Anyways, that's it for this video. As always, if you like this video, please do give me a thumbs up. It really does help out my channel. And if you'd like to see more content of me, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!